Hello, welcome back to my channel. So whilst I'm on a roll making some YouTube videos for everybody, I thought I'd make a second one today, and I'll upload it as well. I've just uploaded one about World War III, all the joys and the fun of doing these things. So look, I've been doing some real research and digging around on parallels with what's going on now versus what went on in the past, World War One, Two, Napoleonic War, etc. How sovereign debt, which is country debt, impacts the creation of war. That was in the video I've just uploaded now. So you should be able to watch that, titled World War. And now I'll go through some parallels. So global debt situation 24-25. Of course, the world's sovereign debt is at record highs with over this is a staggering number, by the way, with over $97 trillion. With US debt alone is almost $37 trillion, UK is $2.8 trillion, and so on. So $97 trillion of global debt, growing faster than the GDP, which is gross domestic product. Europe, especially Italy, France, and even Germany, has high debt to GDP ratio, which basically means that for every €1, £1, $1 they collect, it's one €30 in terms of debt and climbing. And I believe China alone is over 300% sort of GDP to debt ratio. Staggering. And their printing machine has already started, so they're printing more debt. So emerging markets like Egypt, Pakistan, Argentina and Turkey are heavily stressed, where Japan has over 250% debt to GDP, but is shielded a bit because it sort of owns its own debt. Meanwhile, global interest rates are high, which means more debt servicing costs. If you have debt, you've got to pay interest. That's the bonds and the treasury bonds that you may hear across various sort of media, social media sources. Geopolitical tensions are rising with Ukraine, Russia, you have China, Taiwan, you have the Middle East with Iran, and of course Israel and Palestine. This is the exact toxic brew that has historically preceded major wars or radical shifts. And look, folks, shift happens. You know, the world does change, we change. So shift does happen. Some lose out, many benefit. Ultimately, but we all lose out in the beginning, middle, and until the end. And some of us lose out by losing our lives, which is never good, never nice. Why we can't just be peaceful species, I don't know. Throughout history, all we've done is conquer, kill, and control. That's all we've done. So I'm not sure why we expect any different, I guess. But wouldn't it be nice to have just peace throughout the world and just be peaceful individuals, peaceful in our countries, prosper individually and as a country? But seems impossible. We can't seem to, do that kind of thing. We just like to fight. So anyway, back to the topic. Modern warning signs of conflict linked to debt. US and China rising tension. The US cannot easily inflate away its debt without risking the dollar reserve status, which means they are on the power seat, so they are the reserve currency of the world. Everyone likes the dollar for now. China is slowing economically and may face internal unrest. Historically, rising powers under stress have external conflicts. Taiwan. War could be used by either side to unite their population around a cause and justify more debt issuance, just like in World War One and Two. An example would be the US issuing freedom bonds. Again, wouldn't be far-fetched. Europe, stagnation and fracturing. Germany in major trouble. Debt levels are unsustainable, especially for southern European states like Italy, Greece and Spain. And if the Eurozone cracks due to energy crisis and migration, etc., then expect political extremism, which seems to be happening, similar to the 1930s. This could lead to conflict inside or outside of Europe. So an example, watch France and Germany carefully in 25-26 elections. Interesting. So emerging markets, the powder keg, countries like Egypt, Lebanon, Sri Lanka, Pakistan are already defaulting or near collapse. Food and fuel shortages historically lead to coups, revolutions, or civil wars. An example again, the Arab Spring 2.0, but wider. Africa, Middle East, South Asia are all vulnerable. Internal conflicts. Let me grab a drink. By the way, folks, always drink out of glass bottled waters, not the plastic stuff. Microplastics screw you up. I buy glass. Anyway, that's the health tip. Internal conflicts, civil wars and unrest. The US, UK, France, Germany, all highly polarized internally. If that leads to economic collapse, example, banking crisis, pension failures, there's lots going on with pensions right now, currency devaluation sort of happening, internal unrest, just sort of movements become realistic risks. So an example, the US, red state versus blue state. Lots of friction. We've witnessed that, the last couple of years, really. Lots of friction could escalate under massive economic stress. So if economic stress gets much bigger in America, then who knows what will happen. Where we are different somewhat is technology spreads information and disinformation much faster, making revolutions more unpredictable and faster. So X uprising and viral campaigns, for example. So nuclear weapons deter direct wars between major powers, or proxy wars are more likely. Ukraine, Taiwan, Middle East. Central banks, the Fed, the ECB, the BOJ, have tools to delay collapse, as in quantitative easing, printing money, financial repression, but not prevent it indefinitely. So they have tools in their armory, not want of a better word when we talk about wars, but tools in their armory in order to prevent maybe financial collapse, printing money and so on. Debt stress today is similar or worse than past pre-war periods. Conflict potential is very high, not necessarily global war first, but proxy wars. We've already seen the Russia, Ukraine, America, Europe, NATO, and the rest of it. You could argue proxy wars, who knows? Not for me to be a war expert, but, got my own opinion, of course. Just read my X channel. Civil unrest and financial wars, so sanctions, cyber attacks, currency fights, it's all happening. 2025 to 2028 is likely the window where something big breaks if no serious reforms happen. Those that do follow me on X, so I'm Lyndon X on X. I've had Lyndon X for like 10 years. Then you'll see I've been stating that 2027/2028 is likely the window for any world war or major war if something serious doesn't happen to change that sort of timeline. So timeline from debt crisis to global conflict, 2025 to 2030. Phase 1, economic stagnation. We're already talking about stagnation and rising debt. That's 2024 to 2026. High sovereign debt. Loads become unsustainable. Central banks struggle. Lots of central banks, I believe, are in problems right now. They can't cut rates much without triggering inflation again, and that's a problem for them, this sort of stagflation, where the economy is shrinking, interest rates are high. What do? And of course, inflation, if they cut interest rates, inflation rates goes up, but the economy is already struggling. So it's a real bad situation when you get stagflation. Real economies, especially middle class, feel poorer despite official numbers. So you have the not so wealthy, the poor, you have middle class, you have the rich. The middle class are under attack because they eventually become into the poor category. The rich leave countries that have got high taxation. The country suffers more. There's a video on that one too. That's called capital flight. Countries will then put capital controls in to try and stop that capital flight. So the wise rich man or the wise middle class families with some money tend to protect their assets and cash and go elsewhere. Public anger grows, cost of living, taxes, broken promises. we're witnessing in the UK many broken promises by Keir Starmer, lots of lies, like we won't get rid of the heating allowance for pensioners or the old, and then he does exactly that when he gets into power. But there's many examples like that, maybe for another video, who knows. Soft defaults begin, so currency devaluations, bond rollovers, inflation are all signs to watch. So more signs to watch, of course, are fall in wages, real wages. I did a video, and I'm making lots of videos actually, I did it because I'm trying to raise awareness and all of this stuff so that you can better prepare. Now, wages on average in the UK meant to have increased by 5.9%, but the true value is a negative value when you build in all of the extra costs, your energy bills and so on. Yeah, so it's a negative value. But according to official statistics, where they get the number from, I don't know, because I've not met anybody with a 5.9% pay rise yet. But official stats say 5.9% average pay rise. Mass layoffs, we're witnessing that now because of high taxation. Businesses have to lay people off to try and cut the cloth accordingly. Less jobs, of course, because again, taxation means, you know, I can give less jobs. I'll switch to AI or something like that to help me out instead of employing people. Government budget crisis, we're seeing again this in the UK. Can't balance the books, really struggling, and of course the current government, all they can think of is let's hike taxes, and so it's a spiral. Bailouts of banks and small countries, Argentina, Egypt, Pakistan, etc. You know, all this kind of stuff has happened before, it'll happen again. So phase 2 will be a rise of nationalism and political extremes, 2025 to 2027. So make note of the timeline if you want. As economies weaken, extreme political parties, right and left, I never get this right and left stuff, gain power. Leaders blame foreigners, immigrants, other nations. They blame banks for the crisis. This is what happens. It's always a blame game. Never accountability or responsibility for whoever's in power and for whoever has been in power. Screwing it up for all of us. We just want peaceful lives, folks. We just want a nice life. You know, we want to drink our water from bottles and be able to afford to buy the water from the bottles, I guess. And be happy with our partners, wives, husbands, whatever, kids, and bring our kids up and laugh and smile every day. That's what we want. Forget all this nonsense of wars and inflation and can't afford a loaf of bread. It's just ridiculous. Nations start to decouple from old alliances, and we're seeing this now with NATO strains, the EU fights, trade wars and sanctions escalate with tariffs and protectionism. You know, signs to watch on that. Anti-immigration rhetoric, we're seeing that everywhere, right or wrong reasons. Splintering inside alliances, so EU, NATO, UN, all starting to sort of fragment. Rise of new political parties, we're seeing that across the board. Weaponization of food, energy and tech exports, we're absolutely seeing this. The weaponization of food, where farms are disappearing, taxing farms, more tax than what they had before, so they shut down, confiscating land from farmers. We're seeing that, you know, we're certainly in South Africa, also a little bit in the UK. And of course, energy. We're seeing the energy costs just shoot through the roof, unnecessarily so. The UK, I think, has the most expensive energy costs in the world now. Phase 3, we see proxy wars and financial wars, 2026 to 2028. Struggling states push regional conflicts to distract from internal collapse. Currency wars, devaluation battles, sanctions, alternative payment systems, e.g. BRICS, nations ditching the dollar. Cyber attacks on banks are also a big thing. We're seeing this happening. So not just on banks, but utilities and communication systems have to ramp up. But we're seeing cyber attacks in many areas now. So there's more than one way to fight a war. You know, it's not just about rockets, missiles anymore. You know, cyber attacks, finance, economical. I call them economic assassins. You know, these things are real and happening. Signs to watch: China-Taiwan tensions again heating up. Escalation in the Middle East, Iran, Israel, etc. More sanctions, blockades, less global trade happening. Bank hacks happening. Blackouts blamed on foreign enemies happening. And then we're into phase 4, which is major conflict or major reset, 2028 to 2030. Again, make a note of these dates if you want. Full-blown regional wars possible. Now we're down to the dirty, yeah? Pacific, Middle East, Europe, same major country defaults. Italy, Japan, UK, currency resets, introduction of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, to solve chaos. Now, of course, CBDCs, been talked about for a long, long time, basically means all of your money could be at a switch of a button, they can stop you having access. Now, I believe this is coming about, and I think EU said they're launching theirs in October, and it'll probably be more of a softer launch, but it'll become then compulsory over time, as everything does. What that means is they can control your money, so stop capital flight, which means stop you moving money out of the country because the country needs your money. They need access to your money. I believe the EU has already said that, people have trillions in the bank and, we could use that. What a statement to make. And that was made publicly. So look, this is to stop capital flight as well as control what you spend on, how you move, what you've got to have, etc., or we push a button, you can't have access to your money. So you have to, we all have to solve this sort of problem that is coming. Now, there could only be one reason why they're doing this, and this could be for the eventual, war or world war, who knows. A massive shift in global power, like East over West, if trends hold, it seems to be going that way. The world is being certainly divided into two, and we can see that happening. So signs to watch, forced digital ID, look what's happening in the UK, lots of rhetoric and a lot of talk around that, and Tony Blair seems to be the massive advocate, God help us. Emergency powers declared, we've seen this happen before, not so long ago, we saw what happened with lockdowns and so on. Military mobilization beyond normal drills. Again, we can see the narrative of we are going to build this fighter jet by 2027. We are going to invest more into defense between now and by 2027. So you've got to look at these sort of join the dots and look at what dates keep popping up in the narrative. And 2027 is certainly a key date when you see the narratives. Emergency powers declared. Military mobilization beyond normal drills. Yeah, we're seeing that. Sudden peace deals pushed by exhausted populations or unexpected revolutions. Yes. So, key message. Debt crisis weakens nations. Weakened nations look for enemies, internal and external. And we're seeing all the conflicts in the fight now. And wars solve debt by defaulting through destruction, inflation or regime change. So when there's lots of sovereign debt, war kicks off, a country then says, we're defaulting on our bonds, treasury bonds, and that means everyone sort of does the same, because if it was just one country, they'd be really in the hole. So war means everyone does it. And this is why we're seeing investors and people not really interested in EU treasury bonds, because why would you buy EU treasury bonds, debt, if you have a strong feeling they're going to go to war and not pay us? So there's a flood right now going into US treasury bonds. But let's see how everything holds up. So I don't mean to sound doom and gloom, but I do like to make everyone aware. So please do subscribe, like, all that sort of jazz. Leave comments on what you think, because it's important. But this is from my research, from looking back at history, looking at what's happening today, and then making the probability assessment moving forward. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as you can. Don't forget, just get your bottle of water, and I'll see you on the next one.